I call this special meeting to order, 9:08 on December 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Day is.
Kyle, before we get started on going over what you have, I'd like to say something. I'm glad Katie's here. I want to go back to where we started here, which is a sanitary survey done about 18 months ago. And if you'll look at the first statement of deficiencies, it says, recent studies as reported in the 2018 facility plan reflect a high probability significant leakage of the aging 10-inch transmission main between wells and the Farragut tank. This is evaluated as significant deficiency of Idaho rules for public drinking water, IDAPA, and it states the sections. A plan of correction for addressing this issue is required within 30 days of receipt of this report. And I think everybody that has been involved in this knows that the main thing that started all this was we've got to fix the leaks. We heard that loud and strong from the community, and we're here 18 months later. And Kyle, this is no reflection on you, because I know that you've just come into this. You keep asking us for information. A lot of times you're not getting your answers. And for some reason, we have gotten to the point where 90% of our energy is on 5% of the problem, which is a drawer more. And I really applaud Ted, because he has done a lot of work in trying to address that situation with the least amount of cost. But right now where we are, this 10-inch line, and I know every time I've talked to Kyle, I have said, this is not included in anything, and it has to be. So I don't think we can move ahead with anything until we address the leaking lines. And yes, Kyle, that one is what you have up from the tank. The other one is the line from well 7 into Bayview. Those are two of the ones that we suspect is attributable to the most leaking. One of them has been included. The other, it has not been included in anything up to this point in time. So,
Well, before we get any further, do I have a motion to accept the agenda?
sorry, Larry.
Yeah. I motion to accept the agenda.
I second it.
Any more discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
I
Okay, now we can move forward.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. And I'll just make a quick comment. I think at the end of the day, yes, you guys are concerned. We're trying to get these improvements done. But at the end of the day, we need to make sure we're doing the right improvements, and that's exactly what you guys are doing. You know, hey, at least we're at this point where we're looking at the overall budget. We haven't done partial projects here and there, and we haven't spent all that budget, right? Now we're at the best time to be deciding what needs to be updated or modified in those overall projects, right? So,
right.
I mean, that's the good news. The bad news is that we've got a few projects that weren't in the overall budget, and if we're going to retain that budget, we're going to be over that budget, if that makes sense.
I know.
Even with Ted's proposal.
So when we evaluated that option, let me share that with you. To some degree, this is what we found is the most feasible option to retain that pressure and minimum pressures in the Dromore area. Now, Ted had a few comments on the line sizing, keeping 6 versus 8, and that's fair. We understand that. Based on that long-term demand, Ted, we recommend these 8-inch pipes being kind of the minimum design point. And the main reason why a fire event with fire flow, you're going to lose a lot of head loss, and you won't maintain that minimum pressure and keep above that target fire flow of 500 gallons per minute with you using a 6-inch line.
From a budgetary standpoint, the main cost of installing a line is the actual construction work, not the pipe size. Between 6 and 8, there's not a huge difference in cost, but the overall system performance is much better with those 8-inch lines versus 6.
And Kyle, do you have an estimate of the difference in cost between a 6 and an 8-inch? Because construction costs are cover most of it. What is the difference per foot?
I think you're seeing anywhere from $10 to $15.
Per foot difference?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So I guess what I do want to show you guys is, Bob, does that answer your question?
Well, yeah, it seems because usually the difference in cost is typically just the pipe size, and I didn't think $10 to $15 a foot between 6 and 8 that sounds like pretty high to me.
A lot of money. Yeah.
Sure, and keep in mind that's probably that has, you're going to have fittings here and there. Your valves will be a little larger. That's kind of just an overall conservative budget ballpark number.
Okay.
So, but I think the thing that I would like to show you guys is, in order to incorporate that line from the tank, which Bob and I believe Colleen mentioned, this line needs to be added in. Oh, go ahead, Ted.
That's it. Yes.
I think we need to extend that green all the way down to the intersection of Locust Grove. I think that whole site, that red circle needs to go around the entire lime green line.
Yeah.
Because it's the lines along Locust Grove have been replaced, to my understanding, but not the one that's in the lime green color.
Yeah. And Ted, you had a comment. You want us to go back to the Drillmore area? Oh, I can't hear you right now.
It's muted.
Ted, you have to unmute. Ted, you have to unmute.
Jesse, ask him to unmute.
Ted, on your picture, you should be able to unmute.
Yeah, Kyle's the host today.
Unmute.
So
Oh, I'm unmuting him. I'm trying to unmute him. It's not letting me. Unmute.
There he is. Maybe.
He's unmuted, but I can't hear him.
I think it's his computer audio.
Yeah,
I think it is, because I had a hard time hearing him when he first was on this morning, so I think it's his computer.
Okay,
Ted, I
he's
think
looking
you
at
have
it
to
right
go-
now.
I think you have to go down to the.
He's muted again.
Okay, well, we can come back to that once he gets his audio fixed.
Right.
Just to keep things moving forward. So, Bob, like you were saying, this project, what was included in the facility plan includes this entire line replacement down to that junction, which is good. That's great. That's what you were seeing. But then the other aspect that needs to be added in with the overall budget is this line replacement from the tank to the junction. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yes.
Okay. So, Katie, this is something that we're not currently showing in that selected alternative B project. And the good news is JB definitely had a cost for it. I just don't think it made it in that overall summary. And so that project, here's your selected improvements. That project was approximately $347,000. And you can see it's just not quite, it didn't make it in these, your overall project budget.
Okay.
So if we look to add that in there, on top of the two other water lines that were not reflected in that overall budget, adding in about another $670,000 of infrastructure for improvement.
Yeah. So we have to address some of these other issues in another manner. The other thing, Kyle, if you go back on the cost, Bob, can you speak to, there are several up at the top, the upgrades on the wells, and let's go. I think there's about $125,000 that we've already done. Is that about right, Bob?
Yeah. Yeah, that's because we're doing the transfer switch. We've upgraded the SCADA in there. In fact, just so you know, it looks like the transfer switch may be going in today. I saw them out there yesterday working on it. So they're working away at it now. It's just taking a lot of time to get the parts due to hurricanes and outages and stuff in California. So
Right. So I guess we can give you a more definitive number on that. I know Jesse's working up for the board some figures on what we have already expended on what has been shown. So we'll be able to give you some more specifics on that, Kyle. But,
yeah, that's good. That's good to know. So if we were to continue with the original selected improvements while adding in the 2 water lines that needed to be incorporated to make the previous solution work, on top of adding in this leg from the tank to the junction, our overall budget is about $3.9 million. It's basically adding these 3 projects in. So that's above, your original plan. Now, if we are able to proceed down incorporating that Dromar booster station, kind of that other alternative that we looked at, and then adding in other improvements that are needed, we're a little under that. We're about $3.42 million. But, again, as discussed, there's going to be additional O&M associated with that email. But regardless, I think we're at kind of a tight pinch where we're slightly above that original budget, or your original bond amount. I think there might be an ability to offset that based on additional grant funding. I know you guys applied for Army Corps. Maybe they come back with potentially some additional grant dollars to help fund the project. But Katie can talk to this a little bit more. I just want to, at the end of the day, express that you guys are, with these additional projects that, we pointed out that are needed on top of that, you guys expressed need to be incorporated in there. We're over that, original budget.
Right. Well, and I think, like I say, we know of at least 125,000, and I know the rehab of the tank too. I think originally we were thinking, closer to 500,000. So I mean, those things we don't know right now. But from my perspective, where we are, I know, Kyle, that we've come up with 3 or 4 different ways to look at changing, the drawer more, running the new pipe from lime kiln instead of from the Dormore booster station. There's been a lot of that. I guess, to me, Dormore, there's only 20 houses in the whole thing, and of that, there's 5 or 6 that have a problem.
Sure.
And I think we've got to be more creative about how we're addressing that so that we have the funds to target to our real issues. That's my perspective. And if we, maybe we won't be able to do everything that we want with them. But to me, to spend the money that we are to address 5 or 6 houses and not get the leaks done, we're going to be riding out a baby on the back of a pickup truck, because people are not going to be happy.
Larry, what do you think?
Well, one thing is that line from the tank to that we're not replacing. When we replace all that other pipe, I don't think you're going to get as much leakage as you're thinking, because there's, you're only going to have leakage out of the seams, and I don't think you're getting that much leakage along that section of line.
What do you say, Bob? Because I know from talking with all of the former engineers and the operators, their opinion was that was where those 2 points, where the blue line is, and then from the tank in, is where our leakage was occurring.
Well, I don't see how that, how they could figure that out. I mean,
I don't know, but that,
nobody has come up with anything definitive, and
You're right. It's never actually been figured out.
that you're not going to get rid of all the leaks, and I don't think your major leaking is in that section of line.
well, it was cited in the sanitary survey, so that's where I'm getting my information.
Again, the sanitary survey, they didn't go out and actually do actual leak detection to figure out where the leaks are. They're just guessing.
Yeah, so IRWA did come out as well as Master Leak Detection. They all came out and they tested those areas, but they were not able to definitively say that where the leaks were coming from. The entire system has been tested. Lots of money has been spent to test things, but ultimately what it was left with was all the engineers and operators in the past have said that this is the highest probable area to have it, but that is a hunch, and money was spent to try to get a really good answer, but ultimately,
One of the reasons
Dealing with it.
for this is because in the park there are not many valves or fire hydrants, and oftentimes when you do leak detection, you're taking a correlation at like 660 feet between fire hydrants. You got valves you listen to, and there's just not enough of that in there
Pull it
for
up on the
this long
screen.
distance.